To decompose this fraction into its partial fractions, we have to first of all recognize the denominators and the factors in the denominators. So here we have 2x plus 3 and 1 minus 4x in the denominator. So I'm going to write those factors in their partial fraction form. So 2x plus 3 plus 1 minus 4x. And then I'm going to put the coefficient a here and coefficient b here. And we're going to solve for the a and b terms that are going to give us the numerator of 7. So I've color-coded this so I can group them. So I'm going to cross multiply here to get the numerator. So I'm going to multiply the first fraction, the top and bottom, by 1 minus 4x. And I'm going to do the same for the right-hand fraction. So I get b times 2 plus 3. And this is all going to be equal to the numerator of 7. So this all represents my numerator. Okay, so that all represents that numerator. So that should be equal to the 7 that I started with. Okay, so then I could solve this using its partial fractions. And the way I do this is I'm going to equate the coefficients. So I'm going to end up with a minus 4ax plus 2bx plus 3b, and that's going to be equal to 7. Equal to 7. Okay, so we can see that if I group the terms, I have 2b minus 4a, and that's a coefficient on x. And there is basically a 0x term on the right-hand side. So when we match this up, we can say that this expression is equal to 0. We also have the constant term of a, so we have plus the constant term of a plus 3b, and this is going to represent the constant term. And this constant term is 7, so those are going to match. So we solve this system, we solve for a and b by generating a system for system of equations. One equation is going to be based on the coefficient on x, the other equation is going to be based on the constant term, in this case is 7, and we can solve these equations. So starting with 2b minus 4a equals 0, because there's a 0 coefficient there, and our second equation ends up being a plus 3b is equal to 7. So I'm going to, in this case, maybe solve for a. So I end up with 7 minus 3b. Then I'm going to substitute into the original equation, the blue equation, 2b minus 4 times, and instead of a, we're going to replace that with 7 minus 3b, and that's going to be equal to 0. So we expand this out, we end up with a 2b and plus 12b, so 14b minus 28 equals 0. Solving this equation, we add 28 to both sides and divide by 14. We get b equals 2. So that represents the solution for b. And then for a, we end up with, I plug it back into my equation. So I get a equals 7 minus 3 times b, which we solved was 2. And so we end up with a is equal to 1. Okay, so there's my my a and b coefficients, so then I could write my partial fractions. This decomposes into partial fractions of a, which is 1 over 2x plus 3 plus b is equal to 2, and we end up with 1 minus 4x. So there's my partial fractions that give me the fraction that I started with, 7 over 2x plus 3, 1 minus 4x.